Hi everyone, Katie Bangelista here. If you're new to my channel, I am a young adult author who sometimes posts about cooking with my mom, and I also post about videos on thrift store hauls, specifically from HMR, which is a giant thrift store thrift store chain here in the Philippines. Oh my god, say that 10 times fast. And then now I wanted to share with all of you my fandom of the Gilmore Girls. Okay, I love the Gilmore Girls. I discovered them from in college, and I would watch every episode that I could until I became such a fan that when the series concluded, I actually started watching season 1 to 7 every year, every time September and October comes around, because I feel like the only time that you could really appreciate the Gilmore Girls is during that time of the year. Even though we don't have the fall here in the Philippines, it's still so much fun to watch it during that time. And when A Year in the Life came along, I started adding that to my yearly watch-a-thon. And here is Eminem. She's being all needy. So she's gonna join us for this reaction video. I want to, since I'll be doing my yearly watch anyway, I thought why not share it with all of you and have reaction videos where we can interact and share our fandom for Lorelai and for Rory, and live vicariously through them by, I just want a cup of coffee from Luke's. Even if I don't drink that much coffee, did I just return my Gilmore Girl card? Because apparently to be a Gilmore Girl you need to love coffee. And I want to shop at Dosie's. I want to get my groceries at Dosie's. I want to get takeout from Al's Pancake World. I'm just gonna move her. I want to watch movie from the red and white movie theater, or was it black and white movie theater? I think so. I don't remember, but I'll see. We'll see through these videos. All right, so let's get to the reaction. I want to take you through each episode and what my thoughts are for that episode. And if you want to join in, leave your comments down below. I'd really love to hear or read what you think about the Gilmore Girls. And if you are new here and you haven't watched the Gilmore Girls or any episode of the Gilmore Girls, I really encourage you to do so. There might be some spoiler warning. There might be some spoilers, so spoiler warning is implied. But of course, this has been out for years now. If you haven't watched it, why aren't you watching it? All right. So let's begin. This is the pilot episode. So season 1, episode 1. And here, I believe this is an unaired pilot. When they got picked up, they started with episode 2. And this, I believe they just added to the DVD collection. If you know otherwise, please put it in the comments down below. So I wanted to take you through the pilot episode. And if you see here, this is a shot of I get it right. Okay, so this is a shot of Stars Hollow before they did the Stars Hollow, the actual set of the film, of the series. And this is an actual town, as you can see, because the series Stars Hollow does not look like this. Okay, they a lot of things changed as the series progressed, and you will notice that in the first few episodes it's mostly character development and introducing us to Rory and to Lorelai and to the town itself and the quirky characters that live there. So let's begin with Lorelai's first interaction with Luke at Luke's diner, which actually still in this part looks like a hardware store because it was his father's hardware store, which he turned into a diner. Okay, so here it's really fun the way they introduced Lorelai because the fundamental thing about Lorelai is that she loves coffee, and I feel like she is more coffee than blood at this point. And the way that they introduced her is with Lorelai asking Luke for a cup of coffee, and this is where you'll also see their interaction and their relationship as friends, and how he disapproves of her of the amount of coffee that she drinks, even if ironically he serves coffee at his diner. So that's the thing about Luke, is he contradicts himself because his job is having a diner and being a diner owner, and yet he disapproves of Lorelai drinking copious amounts of coffee, and Lorelai and Rory eating meat. So it's kind of in the beginning that's how Luke was portrayed, and then it sort of changed as it goes along. And then when we first meet, okay, so here she gets hit on by a younger guy, and this establishes the fact that Lorelai is young enough to be hit on by a younger guy, but this is actually a storyline that plays out later on in the series. So they're establishing that she is young, but that enter Rory. This is the first time that we see Rory at Luke's diner, which is appropriate. There, okay, where she asks for lip gloss. Okay, so I love their interaction here because it shows them as friends instead of mother-daughter. And the thing you will see in this episode is that there will come a point where the friendship, where Lorelai has to pull the mother card on Rory because of the decisions that she makes. And I love that dichotomy between their two characters. Because they start off as showing that friendship relationship, and then as the episode progresses, you see them as mother-daughter relationship because of an argument that they have. So moving forward, and then she asks for coffee, they get hit on, which is so funny. This part I like. Wait, here. I love that because Rory knows how to. I love the bits between Lorelai and Rory, and how if you become a Gilmore boyfriend, you have to go with their bits. Actually, Dean says that to Max in a few episodes into the season. So, or is it season 2? I'm not sure anymore. But I would love to rediscover the series again with all of you as we continue to watch each episode, and as we continue to react to each episode. So I hope that you could also join me by watching the episode before you watch my reaction videos to them, so that we can interact. And at the same time, I will be posting videos Tuesdays and Thursdays. So one episode per Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you can watch out for that and follow along as we go. So if we move forward, okay, so they actually show the Independence Inn. Okay, there. So that's the Independence Inn, and I believe it remains the same throughout the series. Only the town itself moves from an actual town to a lot that they created at Universal Studios, I think. Am I sure? Okay, and so it it pretty much remains the same, and I've always wanted to stay here because it looks really good. It looks really, really good. You can see it. And then you see Lorelai as, you see her as the manager of the inn. And I love Lorelai being the manager of the inn because she is so accomplished, and it's like she can solve any problem when she's in her manager mode, which is kind of sort of opposite of who she is in real life, because sometimes when she's not in manager mode, that's when problems come into her life that she can't seem to solve by herself. So it's a funny thing to see in the series. And then also here she deals with the see that's the Lorelai, the manager Lorelai that I love seeing, because she knows how to handle people, and you could really see her as the type of person who can go up against the problem at the inn and solve it right away. And then when she is not in manager mode and problems occur, it's like she doesn't know how to solve them, which is so funny. Um, So moving along, okay, here I love this because we see, okay, so we see the relationship of we see Dean for the first time. Which, by the way, can I just say, the Gilmore Girls has done so much for the male actors of this series that they have so many breakout stars. Jared Padalecki is one of them. He, of course, as you know, went on to do Supernatural, which it sadly has also ended. And but the thing about Jared Padalecki is, even if he went to do Supernatural, he still kept coming back to reprise his role as Dean, which I feel like really shows how effective the set was, and how Amy Sherman Palladino effectively ran the show, that the actors kept wanting to come back. And you could actually see this in A Year in the Life, because they were able to assemble the original cast of characters, besides Edward Herman, which we know passed away before they could film A Year in the Life, which is so sad. So, okay, here, I love this because we get to see Sookie for the first time. So, I love our introduction to Sookie because we see her as this bungling chef, but she is a magician with food. So even if she's already bleeding, as she mentioned, and as you can see, she's on the floor. Clearly, she fell. She's still thinking about the food, and in this case, it's the peach sauce, where she, she convinces Lorelai that she fixed the peach sauce. And when Lorelai finally gets a taste of the peach sauce, she refers to the inn that they will open on their own, which is foreshadowing for what happens throughout the series. But the funny thing is, I believe that the inn should have opened earlier than when the series progressed. But I think it happened in season 5, where they were able to finally open the inn. But I think it should have happened in season 3, but I don't know. I guess it's because they have so many storylines that they wanted to tell that got pushed and got pushed until uh, Rory finally graduated from high school, and then Lorelai was able to, open the inn with Sookie. And then here, I love this because we get to see Kim's antiques for the first time, and then we also get to see the relationship between there. We get to see the relationship between Rory and there we go. We get to see Kim's antiques, and then we get to see the relationship between Rory and Lane for the first time. So you can really see like the environment that Lane lives in, which is this antique store. In fairness, it's pretty chaotic here, but throughout the series, it becomes more organized and becomes an actual antique store instead of it looking like junk placed into a house. And and the funny thing about the scene is that you see how disappointed Mrs. Kim is that Lane is friends with Rory. And I think it's because Rory is the daughter of a single mother and they're uber religious, so it's kind of that kind of aspect of the storytelling that adds hilarity to the show that I really appreciate. So note that the Gilmore Girls is like a quieter show than what we are used to seeing now, which is what I love. It's like if I need comfort and if I need to laugh and if I need to be in that headspace of quirky characters who can really find ways to solve their problems and still live their lives, I always go back to Gilmore Girls because it brings me hope. Watching the show just brings me a lot of hope. Oh, okay. Here, I love it. Because here, okay, so this is the turning point. Okay, this is the turning point. This is the Rory gets into Chilton, and she needs to get into Chilton because it's on the way to her road to Harvard, okay? Because she dreams of going to Harvard. And in the show, apparently the easiest way to get there is to go to an uber exclusive private school, and that it gives her a competitive edge. So I guess I get that because apparently it's really hard to get into Harvard. And so to be able to go to Chilton, she is it's an opportunity for her that definitely is something not to pass up. But this is the turning point of where I mentioned earlier that Rory and Lorelai's relationship changes, because they go from in the beginning where they're friends, the best of friends, and then this Chilton thing happens and Lorelai has to pull the mom card on Rory because of something that she does. So they're celebrating. I love that. Okay, and then here, okay, so this part, okay, so in this part, Lorelai just realizes that the tuition is more than she can pay, and she is pretty much getting ideas, suggestions from Sookie as to how she's gonna pay for that tuition. And this is actually where Sookie suggests the one thing Lorelai does not want to happen, which is going to her parents, right? Because if you are a fan of the series, you know that how volatile Lorelai's relationship is with her parents, which you can actually see here. So note, right? She goes to her parents, and then her mom is like, "Is it Easter already?" So right there in that piece of dialogue, you can already tell that it's not gonna go well for Lorelai, because she avoids them until it's necessary for them to see. So it's on holidays. So it's basically Christmas, Easter, whatever, and that's the only time she brings Rory to them. And so this is like a special case where she's trapped, and she knows that the only way that she can get her precious daughter into Chilton is to have her parents pay for it. Which is why here, there, her father already knows you need money, right? And so this forces Lorelai into a corner that she doesn't like to be in. And you will see, as you know, in the series, that there are many, many, many times when Lorelai gets pushed into a corner and it's not pretty. The claws come out, the fangs come out, and she gets uber sarcastic, and she loves baiting her parents, and I don't know if it's a form of revenge on her part because of her childhood, but yes, if you are a fan, you know this, that put Lorelai and her parents in a room together, and more often than not, it's gonna be an argument. And here is the twist. So in this part, I forwarded it too much, but it's fine. This is where Emily suggests that, okay, if we're gonna pay for Rory's school, which I think is a brilliant way on her part to manipulate the situation, is that she is desperate to be a part of Rory's life, which is why when Lorelai comes to ask, and this happens a lot, is that every time she needs something from her parents, there are strings attached, and this is the first string, and the most important string, which is they pay for Chilton, but Lorelai and Rory have to come to Friday night dinners. That is the condition. For them to pay for Rory's school, they have to come to Friday night dinners. And it's hilarious when they go to Friday night dinners, because a lot of the explosiveness of the show comes from those interactions at Friday night dinner. And then here is our first Dean and oh, what happened? Oh. This is our first Dean and Rory interaction. By the way, can I just say, here Dean pretty much confesses that he likes her and that he's been watching her. So it's so I don't know if it's romantic or creepy, because the thing about Dean, and this has been observed by many other fans, is that there are times when he's a jerk, or like he does something jerky, and then there are times when he does, but it gets covered up by how sweet he is, because he can be so sweet. A lot of that, which is why Rory is totally in love with him, because there are moments when he says something, he puts his foot in his mouth, but you don't notice it because he suddenly does something sweet. So I don't know. I don't want to call it an abusive relationship, because I know that there are many Dean fans out there, but really observe him when you watch the episodes. It's like, because here he says, I know that you have such great concentration, because they were throwing a football around and you just kept reading. And so that means he's been observing her, and that he even asks her, how is Moby Dick? And then she says, it's my first Melville. So it's kind of that, her naive way of saying, he gets her, by her reading. So you sort of gloss over the fact that he's been watching her from afar for a while now. And he's only gotten up the courage to ask her out or to interact with her on her last day of school, by the way. She's cleaning out her locker. Okay. And then, oh, okay, important, this part. Okay, so this is where the argument begins. This is where mother becomes mother, daughter becomes daughter, and best friendship is out the window. And it's where the argument starts. Because when Lorelai finds out that she doesn't want, okay, I guess it's acceptable. It is acceptable that, you know, you get this opportunity and you get this opportunity to go to an amazing school to solidify your future, and then the stumbling block to that is a boy. So I guess nowadays that's not gonna fly if this were a new series, but during that time, I guess I mean, if you think about it, Rory is 15 here or 16. So and Dean is her first love. We are assuming that guys don't really notice her the way Dean notices her. And the thing is, Dean is from out of town. He's from Chicago, so he's the new kid, and that's why I guess he doesn't know Rory the way the rest of the town knows Rory, which is why he got up the courage to, you know, to interact with her, which is, I guess, why Rory was so hung up about it, that she would rather stay in high school to cultivate this potential relationship with a guy instead of going to Chilton so that she can go to Harvard. You know, when I was younger, I thought that was romantic, but now I'm like, oh girl. And at the same time, knowing what Amy Sherman Palladino did to her in A Year in the Life, which we will discuss in depth, I promise you, when we get there. I guess I can see it from the pilot. I can already see why that happened during that time. So, you know, sad. Very sad. And here, what I like here is that Lorelai tries to repair the relationship, but Rory is not having it. She's totally, you know, teenage rebellion type of anger, angst, and she's really so. And the funny thing, I think, that really shows their connection is that when they turn on the radio or play the CD, is that it's a Macy Gray song, and they listen to the same song. So I don't know if they're listening to the radio or they just happen to have two Macy Gray CDs at home, which I think is a waste of money. But okay, hers and hers Macy Gray albums. Okay, so okay, there are many a scene in this show where they stand outside her parents' house. Okay, and it's almost and it's always a sense of hesitation between the two of them to enter the house. It's a balance. There are episodes where they don't want to enter, and then there are episodes where they're comfortable at entering the house. So this is one of those times where, because they're fighting, that Lorelai is hesitant because she doesn't want them to explode in front of her parents, because that would cause an even bigger explosion. And then this shows you the interaction between Okay, so that's where you'll see the relationship between Lorelai and her mother, between Emily and Lorelai, because there is clearly a trash can there, and still she wants Lorelai to throw it in the kitchen. And I get where she's coming from because it's coffee, and that's where I guess the wet trash goes. But as an act of rebellion, as you will see, is that, and as you know if you watch the episode, is that Lorelai throws it into the garbage right beside her. She doesn't follow what her mother asks of her. And it's almost like if Emily asks Lorelai not to do something, all the more she's gonna do it. Which is why I totally relate with Lorelai because when I was younger, that was the kind of relationship I had with my mother. It was pretty volatile. And the funny thing is, when I was younger, my relationship with my mother was the way Rory, Lorelai, and Emily interact. But now that I'm older and I've set those feelings aside and I've grown into myself more, my relationship with my mother is more the Lorelai Rory relationship, which is why I love this show so much, because I draw so many parallels in my life from this show. I guess maybe I manifested it because I watched the show way too many times. Like way too many times. I love this show way too much. And I think I'll watch it till the end of my days because it makes me feel good. And then here you will always see the dinner table. Okay, in this part the dinner table is short, but as the series progresses, the dinner table gets longer and gets bigger. The house actually looks bigger as the series progresses, and you will always notice that when Lorelai is at the dinner table with her parents, she can't help but bait them. I don't know if she's doing it intentionally or if she's just being same old Lorelai, but it's almost like she makes it a point to annoy them and to see how far she can go before they explode and get mad and get annoyed. So you'll see it often. There's a scene with peas that's just Gilmore classic. And what I like here, okay, so in this part, Rory finally finds out that in order for her to go to Chilton, Lorelai borrowed money from her parents. And that's a big deal because she knows that Lorelai's pride is that she would rather, sell a kidney than go to her parents for money. But because this is for Rory, she put down her pride and just, accepted it. And so Rory realizes that, and that's actually the shift between her realizing that, okay, I'm throwing away Chilton for a boy right after my mother accepted a donation from her parents so that she can go to school. So she finally realizes that, okay, I think I'm making a big mistake and I got to go to Chilton, which is what she says when they finally go to Luke's diner at the end of the day, at the end of the night. Here. So they finally made up and they are back to the beginning, which is best friends forever again. And this is also where we get introduced to cleaned up Luke, which I don't know why it had to be this episode, but I guess they were trying to show studio execs that there's going to be like a running love interest storyline between Lorelai and Luke. See there. See, so you could see like Lorelai, like, oh, cute, nice, and she even contemplates it here. Like, what about Luke? And Rory is like, maybe not, because we eat there. We always eat there, and it's that classic "don't shit where you eat" kind of idea, where don't date the diner owner, because if something bad happens, we won't be able to eat at the diner anymore. And definitely you'll see it does happen. It does happen, and it's so funny the way they portrayed those events. But we'll talk about it when we get there. And I like how, here, this part, I love it. I love that, because it's a point of pride for Lorelai, and two, it's true. Rory is Lorelai, except for a lot of things that I will discuss when we get to those episodes, because I feel like Rory's character was wasted at the end of this series. And you will see what I mean when we get to those episodes. So, as a parting note, is that I love that they show Luke's diner and the two of them just talking and having dinner at the end of this episode. And there, see, that is an iconic scene right there, because it's really, because they actually show this part there. They actually show this part. So they actually show this part at the end of seasons, at the end at the series finale in season 7, which is why it's kind of bittersweet to have the first episode mirror the last episode of season 7. All right, so I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on the first episode of Gilmore Girls season 1. And I hope that you continue to join me on this journey of rediscovering the series and sharing my thoughts on this series. And I hope that you also share your thoughts on this series, because I love it. Even if it has so many flaws, which if you are a fan, this show has flaws. But you accept it anyway, because like any human being, we are not perfect. And that is what Gilmore Girls is. It's a beautiful show, but it's not perfect. It's far from it. I will be the first one to tell you it's not perfect. And you will see as we go along this journey that, yep, there are episodes where you're like, could have been better. Or, So I hope that you give my channel a subscribe and give this video a like so I can make some more of it. Hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single episode. Even if you just join me here for the Gilmore Girl rants and raves, I will be ecstatic. So with that, I'd like to bid you all goodbye and see you on the next one.